some important issues, uh, economy-wise, and to reiterate some points that Caswell made in terms of jobs for friends and family, in terms of no accountability, no transparency, and how this whole thing is just exercising money laundering and the funneling of money from the international community into Barbados, and that money is not benefiting the citizens. So, in the lead up to the 2018 elections, Barbados was not as connected to the international financial system as it is now. We owed approximately $1 billion in debt to the entire financial system. Right? So we were not having any issues internationally. We paid all of our debts on time. We never defaulted on any of our international debts. Right? But for the first time in Barbados' history, our superstar prime minister defaulted on our international debt. And defaulting on the international debt uh, defaulting on the international debt, it caused severe damage to Barbados, and it caused us to be banned from international credit markets for a period of time. And there are a lot of new clauses that are coming on the stream that will punish us for some time financially before we can get back access to these credit markets. So what they did not say, despite the fact that Kevin Greenidge and the Prime Minister are saying that we were upgraded by the credit rating agencies, we were not upgraded because the bonds, everything is still at junk status. Right? All of our bonds are at junk. So don't listen to the upgrade talk. Moody's, Standard and Poor's, has said that if Barbados cannot get construction going to be building all of those projects that the Prime Minister spoke about, like the Hyatt and all of the other investments that were supposed to come on stream, if they did not get it on stream, that the credit rating should have been downgraded. But you can't go from, well, they got levels of junk bonds, but the rating already at junk. So it would have just gone to a lower level of junk than it is right now. So the government out there bragging about junk bonds, and they even went as far as to say, well, we got junk bonds, so we want to give the people some junk bonds too. And they passed a clause or a bill, namely that settlement bill, and that settlement bill say to the people of Barbados that in the name of Series J bonds, that the bonds created under Section 4 shall be issued to a person whose land was acquired by the government under the Land Acquisition Act, and where no compensation has been paid or fully satisfied in respect to the compulsory acquisition of your land, to a person whose cause or legal claim against the government has not been satisfied in respect of any outstanding liabilities of the government, which also included any medical claims that you had against the government. The government are saying, we don't have any money to give you, but we're going to give you in bonds, right? And a part of that restructuring completely destroyed government bonds. Nobody don't want to buy government bonds. Not even the banks, the credit unions, the insurance, right? They can't use the NAS to buy the bonds anymore. They can't use the central bank because the IMF forced them to put some changes in the central bank. They passed an amendment act to the central bank when they came in, which restricted the government from printing money. They restructured the debt, so they had to stop taking debt from the NAS. So that left a big hole locally for the government to find financing, right? So that's where you see the government is going to the international arena, selling us over to the IMF and the other institutions because they cannot do what they were doing anymore. So we signed off to the IMF program, and the government is following some dictates of the institution. I mean, this thing is going so far, and in the latest, I call it straws, or the latest snake oilery that they're coming with is this thing about the climate change, right? Climate change, climate agenda. This climate change agenda is the baby of Mia Motley. She's given birth to the baby of climate change, and she's now the world champion on climate issues, as we said before. And that I heard the last presenter speaking about social justice and being a champion for the social justice cause. But in respect of our Prime Minister is advocating for climate justice, right? And through signing off to not one IMF program, but she signed off on 2 IMF programs since she came into power, and it's unheard of, really, countries going through IMF programs, 2 IMF programs back to back without heading to devaluation is unheard of. It don't happen just like that, right? To reinstitute more stringent measures, right? Here comes our friendly neighborhood economist, Avinash Prasad, Professor Avinash Prasad. He was appointed by the Prime Minister of Barbados to be the special advisor for climate change. So everything climate, Avinash Prasad is the special advisor in the Prime Minister's office for this climate thing, right? So he has been appointed the chairman of what the Prime Minister called a blue-green bank in Barbados. A blue-green bank, which is a climate change bank, right? And in February of this year, Wilfred Abrahams, again, funny how you all be speaking about him tonight, he was given a job after a cabinet meeting to come forward and announce that Barbados will be launching this new blue-green bank. And this new blue-green bank is an amalgamation of a couple of the international financial banks that Barbados borrow from. So the IMF, the IDB, the World Bank Group, the European Union, right? Those banks, and along with this international fund established called the Green Climate Fund, right? So I give those international institutions again: the IDB, the World Bank, the European Investment Bank, and the Green Climate Fund all merged for Barbados to create a new bank called the Blue Green Bank, right? And this so-called bank, let's say that was announced by Wilfred Abrams, and I used to say Avinash Prasad having responsibility for this, being the chairman, they then went and they appointed Liz Thompson. And Caswell, you gotta help me with this because I don't know what is the ambassador. I can't even get the word pronounced properly, but a plenipotentiary and extraordinaire. I don't know what's that, right? But they appointed Liz Thompson to be this ambassador for climate change, the law of the seas, and the ambassador for small island developing states, and sent Liz Thompson over in the world to be lobbying for people's money to borrow more loans, because that's what Liz Thompson does, right? So they sent her out, did whatever, and Mia Motley's coming up and saying that, and I sent you some stuff there, Marcia, that we are going to do what we call a debt swap. So follow the logic of the story. He established the bank, and then the bank is going to finance this debt swap, this debt financial swap that Mia Motley is talking about. What she did not say to us, right? Well, let me say what she said first. Let me stick to what she's saying first, right? She's saying that this new debt swap is to fix the South Coast sewage plant. The garbage and sewage tax was there to finance the fixing the South Coast sewage plant, right? So we have billions of dollars on accounting for the garbage and sewage tax to fix the sewage plant that they said was fixed since 2018, right? I also said before that they rolled out $131 million in capital works projects to fix that South Coast sewage plant already, both the South Coast and Bridgetown, and they got money from the Chinese also to fix that South Coast sewage plant, right? So you need to account for that money as well, right? What is interesting about this blue-green bank, and I just tying it all back in together now, because I just spoke about the sewage tax, and remember who collects the sewage tax? The Barbados Water Authority. Right. They have now merged the Barbados Water Authority and its Green Climate Fund to funnel the project and the loans of the project through the Barbados Water Authority. Right?
Wow.
I can repeat that to you. And you can listen to Mia Motley. You can listen to Mia Motley when she spoke about, she said, Barbados Water Authority will be tasked with the responsibility to finance the South Coast sewage plant and this debt nature swap. Again, why that is because Mia Motley is using the Water Authority as the institution to mobilize the loans that they would have borrowed from the Green Climate Fund to the Water Authority. And they set up the Water Authority in partnership with that Green Climate Fund to mobilize money, right? I want to read a couple of words that I got from the website, right? The website,
the Green Climate Fund website.
Yes, where Mia Motley spoke, because it came out in the article. It's the article said that they will be developing new non-debt instruments in nature and social capital projects, building more resilient infrastructure. And when I say infrastructure, they just mean bonds, financial instruments to raise money. But this is what this is about: raising money. They're developing new infrastructure, new low-cost infrastructure that will help the government with long-term loans from these development financial banks, right? So low-cost, long-term financing instruments, which is supposed to support the government's the government's investment in resilient water and waste management infrastructure.
I'm trying to find it here to show. This is the one in Barbados today?
No, this one is the one I sent you with it has a picture of the Prime Minister in it. Is an international site that I sent you.
Okay, right? I'll get it for them.
Here this is,
I'm gonna find it for them.
Yeah. So they say this one, they say that they were going to invest in water and waste treatment infrastructure. And they also say that its effort is to support the transformation of state-owned enterprises and to enfranchise workers, and that Barbados' multilateral financing will strengthen support to attract private investment in PPPs, public-private partnerships. And when they say that they were going to privatize Water Authority, me and Marcia said was talking nonsense. Here is all of the proof in black and white, so tell her to come and deny it. I said that they are going to privatize the Water Authority, and they're doing it. They fired the general manager, right? He's the same general manager that was on the Green Climate Fund clip, and it's on YouTube. You can go and type it in on YouTube right now. Green Climate Fund and Barbados. And you will see the general manager right there. This is the same one that said that he used the sewage tax money to help run the Water Authority. He's in there speaking about how important it is for the Water Authority and the Climate Fund to merge, and it'll be a good idea, and all of these things. Right?
Wow.
So you have a government, right? You have a government who is appointing these persons, as I said, Avinash Prasad, Liz Thompson, based off what Chris Sinclair said this week. He's pushing the climate agenda, so they have him now as the alternate executive director on the World Bank Group. And the World Bank, as I said earlier on the show, is one of the partners in this bank coalition that's lending us to this new blue-green bank. Right? So they are going to these international development banks. And I told y'all that Santi, our deputy prime minister, went to the Netherlands. He went to the Dutch government for assistance on consultation on water management. Right? Then we can hear that the European Union is providing finances to the Barbados Water Authority, and we hear the Prime Minister speaking about X amount of billions to replace infrastructure. Now she's speaking about another $600 million to do the sewage and this debt financial swap. But what they didn't tell us about this debt financial swap, right, is who exactly is financing this blue-green bank of Barbados, and they can give you the names. This blue-green bank is supported by the new IMF program.
Wow, this is something else, Caswell. This is some research here. I'm trying to.
I can tell you. See where the friend of him?
This is deep. That's why they don't want you to come on. Listen, guys, you have to come on down to the roadside parliament, because now we got to be able to go in depth about this kind of thing. But take it, give it to us slow. I'm trying to write at the same time, and I want the people to see the information. Guys, you loving this? Tonight, what a night this is. Marcia and Caswell almost let me drop off my chair, Heather. But go on, continue. I can't remember your name. Continue,
Kimar.
Yes. No. Me and Motley and Wilford Abrahams came out giving big support for this bank. Me and Motley can be quoted as saying that she wants to give thanks for the persons who provided the initial financial support for this blue-green bank in Barbados. Here are the persons who invested in the blue-green bank in Barbados. The Green Climate Fund, as we know, that's supported heavily by the international community. The International Monetary Fund, a program called USAID, and last but certainly not least, the Rockefeller Foundation. Right? The Rockefeller Foundation has provided the initial financial support for this blue-green bank in Barbados. Last time I was on the show, I spoke about this debt financial swap, and I asked a question: who are the philanthropic organizations, these billionaires who just have money that say that they're philanthropists? Who was the philanthropic organization who was funding or helping this debt financial swap? And we can clearly see that it's the Rockefeller Foundation. I thank one of the persons who came to the march on Saturday. They gave me this bit of information that Argentina went through a situation where you had these organizations, this rich billionaire, buying up the debts of countries. That's buying up the debts of countries, right? So what we are saying here now is that this organization, I call it charitable organization, right, is going to assist in buying up the debt of Barbados. Mayor Motley is saying that the savings that will become available from these persons buying up the debt will then go over to fix the South Coast sewage plant, right? The point of the debt restructuring was to restructure all of the loans who had very high interest rates on them to bring them down to what all of them were saying. Kevin Greenwich, Marcia Cattle, all of the ministers were saying that we borrow at 1%. That was their big thing. That we brought 1% and it's cheap money, and the IMF is the way to go because yeah, they said the whole thing with 1% money, right? So they restructure all of the loans to bring them down to 1%, right? So why then would the Rockefeller Foundation and the IMF and the Green Climate Fund provide money now for and the IDB, right? To provide money for you to come to buy that and that they already provided for you up front through the original IMF program. So why are they coming through the back door to buy that you say is 1%? What you what's 0.5? Even if they choose to do it at half, right? Why are they buying 1% loans from the government of Barbados to get what profit? We saw Mayor Motley saying, right, that the interest rates on the loans jumped up because they were tied to the LIBOR rate, the London interbank lending rate, and the interest rate cost jumped on Barbados 400%. So the same thing that happened in Argentina, where this organization, this foundation will buy up the loans, and then when the loans jump, because when the labor rates jump by international economic shocks like the war in Ukraine, when those rates jump again, we will now owe these institutions at least 400% more. And as you as a government, when you come into power, they can put the squeeze on you because you now owe them. So they now control and dictate from an economic perspective what will happen because they now own your debt. And the debt is not local debt. The debt is tied to the international market, which means the rates have to jump. So they have put us in a debt trap, and they know these international and what I call vulture institutions. These vulture institutions are scalping off the debt, and the Prime Minister, through this climate change agenda, is mamagging those persons who do not know or understand what is happening with all of this fancy climate talk and financing for this and climate fund and IMF. And if you that last article you had before, if you read that on the IMF's website, the IMF details word for word exactly what is happening with this new resilience and sustainability fund, the climate agenda, Barbados, and how they are going to go about mobilizing these new funds to help Barbados put in what they call climate infrastructure. But that infrastructure, and as I gave you the example specifically as it relates to water and waste management infrastructure, they are now relying on the IMF and the international world to tell us what to do with our own water. So that's why they could change up these zoning policies. That's why they could tell us no, we could build on zone 1 lands. That's why we could be selling out all of the coast, all of the east coast, all of the Bridgetown. That's why we could be bottling off the water and selling the water to the international community and restricting Barbadians' access to water. Because the IMF is dictating what you do with water. Right? And I challenge any of them to come and deny it, because look, it is right here, signed by the director of the IMF. It is right there. So let Mayor Motley, who got on a press conference to give people the impression that I did not know what I was talking about, here is all of the evidence.
Oh, Lord of mercy, Caswell. This is some information here. Listen, it's as somebody said, we need, because I'm trying to write at the same time and it's not working. Because I tried to take the notes, right? And it's not working out. So listen, guys, we need somebody to go over what was done tonight. It's gonna be it's gonna be from about 9:05. He came on tonight. And to just watch it over and over and take the notes and let's put it together. There is a sister who was on the march and saying, can we get all the issues together in one place? This one here, we need to be able to break it down, you know, Mr. Franklin, sit down and break it down and really because this is deep. This is deep.
Marcia,
Yes.
someone just mentioned that perhaps we need to do a press conference on this segment that Kimara discussed, because people have no idea that the debt swap is actually a debt trap, and we need to expound on it.
Yeah, that's quite interesting, you know. So we need to, we need, as Trevor is saying, we can write, but we have it all recorded. But I think if we can get it summarized, even with what, I mean, Caswell has brought a lot of issues, you know, and someone came to me on Saturday and said, Marcia, can we get all of these issues that have been highlighted? Can we have them summarized? Can we have the pensions that Caswell has laid out so beautifully? Can we have it summarized? Can we have the issues like what we're talking about brought tonight? Can we have you understand, Heather? So we need some scribes. We need people. Remember the number I put up. Oh my Lord, this whole show tonight is just having me. Oh Lord. Yes, go ahead.
The Nigerian question. I just flashed across the screen a few minutes, less than half a minute ago.
Okay, yes, let me see here.
He says, should political leaders be permitted to sign international agreements without the express consent and agreement of citizens? The answer to that is no, but that is what an ambassador plenipotentiary can do. All right. So, but Kima asks what an ambassador plenipotentiary is. It is a person who acts on behalf of the government, but they can take independent action on behalf of the government. So they can go there and sit down and negotiate agreements. So even without the cabinet. So I don't know why. I'm the very first.
Wait, repeat that, please. So spell it now, because everybody learning tonight. I never hear that word. Probably if you spell it, I might have seen it already. Tell me, spell it, Chancellor.
It is PLENIPOTENTIARY. Plenipotentiary. It is a person, usually a diplomat, who's invested with the full power of independent action on behalf of the government. And it says typically in a foreign country.
Wow.
So when you appoint her ambassador plenipotentiary, she then has the power to take independent action on behalf of the government of people of Barbados.
Wow. Wow. And she is the one that is, and according to what Kimar is saying, that this is the role she sits on as it relates to this bank, this new bank. Am I right with that?
Yeah, she's the ambassador plenipotentiary for climate change, law of the seas, and small island developing states, right? Which means that
you can go to conferences and agree to certain things on behalf of the government of Barbados at those things. And
Avinash Prasad, he's a special advisor on issues of climate change, right?
So what do they know about climate change to put them in those kinds of positions?
Or I can tell what Liz Thompson knows about climate change. She was the minister of health at one stage.
That is crazy.
She was also minister of environment too, right?
Yeah, I will tell you. You know, my health and the environment, it used to be one ministry. But you know, no, to give people jobs, you had to break the ministries into their component parts and make each one a ministry with a separate minister.
So someone said that in listening to Kimar tonight, they're learning a lot about the economy, because the way you told it, Kimar, you told it from the beginning like a story, and it made sense to us. Nigel is asking another deep question here, Mr. Franklin. In the circumstances, how can we boast about being a democracy when we, the poor little pillions down here, we don't even know what is a plenipotentiary or whatever.
Plenipotentiary.
A plenipotentiary. I never heard that word before in my entire life. I'm not ashamed to tell you. I never heard that in my entire life. We don't even know what is going on. How can we say that we're a democratic state? Caswell?
We only say that, but you remember I said on this program more than once that Barbados is a parody of a democracy, you know, in the Westminster system type government. It is just a parody. We have all the names, but we don't do exactly what they're supposed to do. You know, for instance, Parliament has a whole set of committees, 1 or 2 meets, you know, and you name them every year. I sat on I can't say sat, I was named to several committees of Parliament when I was a member of the Senate. And I think only one of those committees met. And because there were only 2 opposition people then in the Senate, then I had to be on almost all. Didn't meet. And the one that they didn't put me on was the Management Commission of Parliament. That's the one that look out for the runs Parliament.
So I think Kimar, that something like this it has to be. I think it's Heather talked about repetition. I can't remember if it's Heather, but repeating things. And I think that we need to every night just be on this issue and breaking it down and going slow and making sure that the people understand what is happening here. Because, you know, since Caswell has been on the show, anytime, you know, she comes and she says this, I knew something was wrong with it. I knew in myself, I said, because when she came back, then they're talking about these low interest loans, and then they realize that the things, their variable rates. I mean, what points why did we put ourselves in this mess?
We put ourselves in this mess because we have people who have more ambition than ability. You want to be a minister of government, you want to be prime minister, but you do not have the wherewithal, meaning the brains, to do such. But you get elected, you go up there and you give people a lot of fancy electoral promises and stuff and business, bought into it. But you know that they bought snake oil salesmen, people who don't know what they are talking about, but they sound pretty. You know, one thing I think Marcia said, talk about the bonds. You know, payment in bonds in Barbados is still illegal. You must pay in legal tender. Legal tender is money. So when the government seek to put bonds in place, you would have to amend the Constitution of Barbados to make bonds legal tender. Because when you owe me money, you got to pay me in money, not in bonds. I would have to agree to take a bond. But the government is saying, no, you're not agreeing, we paying you in bonds. So this is an outlaw government. They have all kinds of laws that they break. They don't care. I can't walk into Popular and tell Popular got some bonds there if they can hold on for 5 years till they mature. They want money now. But the government seems not, they do what they like. And because they know they have control of the courts, that the courts will do what the government wants. I know a lot of decisions in Barbados are not proper legal decisions. They are decisions that will benefit the government as opposed to what the law really is. Because the law is such, legal tender means money. Coins and banknotes. That's what legal tender is. The government now is trying, with the Protection of Wages Act, to make digital currencies legal tender. But so far, the only legal tender that we have in Barbados is money. So if the government owe you money, they're going to pay you. And you cannot pay me with even if you are a worker in this country and your employer decides, I want to pay you with a check. You can say, no, I want money. And they're going to pay you in money. Money is more convenient because if you take the The money down the road are going to put in the bank, somebody can't take it away from you. So it's better to take a check. But if you're going to take a bank draft, a check, a money order, you have to agree, the employer, and you have to agree. The only legal tender thing that they can take is money. So our government decides that we're going to do what we feel like, and we're going to pay you with bonds. So that is the address. And so when you have land acquisition, you're going to be paying me in legal tender. You take away my land. I didn't ask you to take away my land. You take away my land, they're going to tell me you're not going to pay me, you're going to give me bonds. And the lawyers are saying, well, I can hold the bonds because, you know, at least I will get my fees down the road. But some of the people that these lawyers are acting for cannot sit down and afford that. You have a judgment against the government that won't pay you in bonds. And if you don't take the bonds, you don't get the money.
Right.
So they blackmail you into taking bonds. This government is now, what they are doing. If you were doing it, it would be criminal.
Yeah. Marcia, I want to
go ahead.
Ask for information. I know reading no from Alternative Views again. Page 138. And I spoke to this issue, you know, but I didn't speak to it in the context of the how I just explained it, but I spoke to it about the impending privatization of the water authority, right? And when the government came in, they were focusing on water woes. And we had Wilfred Abrahams, when he was the Minister of Water Resources, going to St. John to tell the people in St. John that you may need to take a proper look at your water pipes because you may have a leak. These are people that have water for months, you know. Dry taps. He's saying that a dry tap could have a leak, right? Y'all remember that?
I remember that.
Right? He's saying that.
He said it had a leak.
Right? So, as far back then, the government was planning this operation because they knew upon signing the IMF program what they were going to do with water authority, right? So that's why I spoke about the 20-man water committee that I got Clay Maskell on. This is the same Clay Maskell that spoke about the $80 million in sewage tax because he's on that 20-man water management committee. Tony Moore is on that 20-man water management committee. And the same Carol Boyce that Caswell said is the consultant truck driver.
Yeah.
He's on that committee, right?
You know,
Mr. Good Vibrations is on the committee.
It's to drive the men when they were breakdown, when they had leaks, and now you're going to go and dig up the road and stuff. He's just driving the truck and carry the man there. That is his ability and knowledge about water authority. And he's on a committee dealing with water. Lord help us.
Okay. So along on that committee, you can see on that committee, and they're gonna get the names and read out these names on this thing. The next time I come here, this 20 because it was public information and private, right? This committee had on a lot of the rich, wealthy conglomerates in Barbados, right? People of different hues, if you want to say that. They are on that committee, and Mayor Mottley said they are going to be charged with tackling the water woes in Barbados, right? So I read some of the IMF documentation, and the water authority is listed, and as I read before, as a state-owned enterprise. And part of the changes to the same blue-green bank and investment in these new financial instruments is to tackle SOE reform, right? And on the SOE reform is the water authority, and the IMF said that the amount of transfers to the state-owned enterprise of the water authority are to be cut. And that the intention of the government is to remove as many state-owned enterprises from government books, from central government, and have them placed under private control. And if you're going to read the IMF documentation, it tells you that they were intended to move the water authority under private capital. So that is why I spoke about the Public-Private Partnership Committee. I spoke about it in the book, and I spoke about it just now in my presentation when I say that the government is invested with the IMF, the IADB, the European Union, the Rockefellers, the USAID, the World Bank, all of them, they're invested in it, and they say that they are moving the SOEs into public-private partnerships, and it's specifically to the Water Authority, right? Minister Charles Griffith, again, the minister for St. John, he was minister in the ministry, but as Caswell said, there's no such thing. So he was the assistant to the Minister of Water Resources, and he's the one that let stand out, right? June 2020, Wilfred Abrahams said that the government was rolling out a water authority project, and that the funds will be provided by the same IDB and the European Investment Bank to allow for the upgrade and modernization of the Barbados Water Authority. So you see that they were borrowing the money all along from the IDB and the IMF and those places to put the infrastructure in place to lead up to the privatization, right? And you could go and quote Wilfred Abrams on that. Right? So it don't surprise me, but again, Mayor Motley knew what she was doing when she tried to give people the impression that I did not know what I was saying, because she did not want this information to be articulated in such a simple way so that the people understand. Because this is what I call an injustice and a robbery of Barbadians of its natural resources. And time and time again, people constantly say that the IMF and those institutions set up countries and the leaders to exploit the population and the natural resources in order to repay interest payments to these institutions. And it is coming true, and it is happening. And we have to block any bids there is to privatize the Water Authority in Barbados. But as far back as 2007, if you're going to read the IMF documentation on Barbados in 2007, they were saying that there will be a rise in the cost of water, with a water levy, right? And they're going to increase the price upward to help tackle the recurrent expenditure in the Water Authority. That's just the money that I take to run it. And you heard the general manager saying that he had to take the garbage and sewage tax to run the Water Authority because the government was not sending down the subvention on time. And they didn't get it neither, because the IMF has instructed the government to cut the transfers and the subsidies to the Water Authority. So it ain't coming. So that's why he had to dip in the sewage tax. So this is going to get worse.
That's why he had to misappropriate the sewage tax. They got to use the correct words, because he had no authority to do it. When you don't have authority to spend people money, you spend it as misappropriation of money. Marcia is an accountant; she can tell you. You know, but one thing I want to tell you all, though, and you see, one of the reasons why the Water Authority is suffering is that
speak up a little louder. Speak up a little louder, Kazra. You seem a little low.
Yeah, one of the reasons why the Barbados Water Authority is suffering is that there are certain people in Barbados, certain big companies, who do not pay a water bill that is reflecting the kind of usage that they use. For instance, we had 2 hotel properties in Barbados. I'm talking about large hotel properties in Barbados. I cannot call the names here because these came up during the disciplinary hearing, when it was representing some person, and that's information they got during that hearing. So it will not be right to disclose that information publicly. I didn't get it. I got it to represent a person who refused to cut the bills of people because they tell them that you're going to lower the bill for these people. We have hotel properties in Barbados that were paying $32 a month for water. I got more than 100 rooms. $32 a month. The same as the old fella down Baxter's Road who got a pipe in the yard. $32 and a $45 sewage tax. I'm talking about hotel properties in Barbados. And when an officer of the Barbados Water Authority tried to collect that money, they got charged. And I had to go and represent them. So that's where you gotta go and find money all about the places, because people in Barbados who have connections do not pay. We had a certain person in Barbados, multi-millionaire, swimming pool, running house, and all kind of thing, and he was paying $32 bill. I don't know if you go to swimming pool and only pay $32. But you see, the problem is he had connections. And so that's why this place is too corrupt. And that is why Barbados, if something doesn't happen to deal with this corruption, we're going to be a failed state. Not that we are not failing now.
Well, I tell you, Heather,
Marcia, look at your phone and you will see that properties that
listen, whenever Cadwell sent me something on my phone, you know, you all don't want me to sleep. I left a show one night and I could not sleep the entire night. And this, I think this is what, oh Lord of mercy.
I have a question
$32. $32. Yeah.
Kimar, when you started off, you mentioned Argentina, that they had done the debt swap, and afterwards their interest rate change. Can you tell us what is their present situation?
And Kimar, bearing in mind, it's a minute to 10 here. It seems like we're gonna go over a little bit tonight because this one here busting my brain. But go ahead, short, and then we come back on it tomorrow. Okay, continue. Go ahead, Kimar.
Yeah. Well, we'll give a brief explanation. Argentina, like Barbados, went into the IMF program. Argentina, like Barbados, was the poster child for IMF programs. Argentina was IMF. Like how Barbados is right now. Argentina defaulted on its international debts. I mean, Argentina was hundreds of billions of dollars in debts and they defaulted on it, right? And I had to get the IMF bailout. So what you had hedge funds, we call it a virtual fund. You had hedge funds because nobody will lend the Argentinians money. These hedge funds came in and bought out the debt. So the Argentinians didn't owe the IMF anymore. The Argentinians owed the billionaire, the philanthropist, right? They owed him. So when the rates on the interest thing jumped, this hedge fund man jumped in and said, they are not restructuring any debts. The Argentinian government has to pay me the full amount that they owe me. And he took them to court and he won.